she ended up needing to get help. We went to a psychologist, Dr. Kelly Mraz in Calgary, and frankly, he saved her life. So
wow.
And then she battled for years and years and years. She was about 12 years old when she was diagnosed with OCD and anxiety. And I believe she was about 4 years after that. These are her words, not mine, Bill. She said,
yeah.
I'm starting to have more good days than bad. And so that was the sign of, she's starting to really understand how to sort of manage her thoughts and, deal with these thoughts daily. She has thoughts about disease and dying every single day, still to this day, but she has tools to help her. But when she came out with her story, she came out nationally in 2013, which was really cool. I mean, the National Post and the Canadian press both did big stories on her and her battle and her strength and all that. Is really heartwarming, Bill, because I was afraid. I got to tell you, my friend, when the story was going to break, like I said, in April of 2013, I was away, but we had a great chat on the phone. And I said, I forewarned her, or actually I asked her the night before, I said, do you really want to do this? Because, Bill, I was so afraid of social media and all the haters and the bashers. Right. And so I got to tell you, it was so heartwarming to know she's not had any bashers or haters. She's only been surrounded by love. So, and then we started chatting as a family, and it was kind of like making fun of Dad, my habits, and I've not been clinically diagnosed yet, but I'm actually searching out help right now because of my OCD, and my brain gets the best of me, and it certainly did this year. I had an ugly year, and it can happen to anybody at any time at any age.
Wow, thank you for sharing that story. And Caitlin's how old now?
She's 29.
29. Wow. Now tell me, if I'm not being too personal, when you say the loop that you experienced, so the loop, the tape that would play over and over and over that, you weren't worthy or whatever, can you share a little more of that?
Yeah, well, mine was at that time, and I'm going to share one from this year. It was just that you're not good enough. You can't this was actually really important. You can't keep doing this at this same level anymore. You just can't. And my brain was insistent upon doing that over and over and over. And so finally, I got off to a great start that year, Bill, but it was in late November when the thoughts became overpowering. We were playing one of those neutral site games. We're in Milwaukee, and I had a terrible night. Like, I became unglued, and I was all alone.
I'm so, I can't. My heart really goes out to the video that your video that Dr. Shelley Spanner aired at the Big Ball down at Hotel Arts. There was not a dry eye in the room after that video played, and I just want to say thank you for that. Was really, really, really powerful, and I believe it won an award or was up for an award or something. It was phenomenal. Thank you,
Bill. I got to tell you, there's an interesting story behind that video. So, Kirsty McClellan Day sent an interview at their production studio, Pyramid Productions, with her husband Larry Day, and so that was October of last year. And I personally thought I was going there to do an interview about Caitlin, and I had no idea I was going to be sharing my story. And so that's why I became very emotional. Larry did an amazing job, but there was more to that story. And that's why I think not only did I really come clean about what I was feeling, but something was really brewing in my head right in around that time. And I had this past hockey season, Bill, I've had some of the same familiar thoughts that I had back in 92, 93, that I'm not good enough. I can't do Hockey Night in Canada anymore. And so before every show, I would have to try and convince myself I'm good enough to go back on air. Can you imagine that? 21 or 22 years in broadcasting, and I faced the same challenges this year, and I'm searching out help. I got to get healthy again to go back on the air before the next hockey season, because I don't know what happened, but it was very similar to back many, many years ago, where my brain just got the best of me and completely irrational thoughts. And I had to work hard to get on air this year.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry to hear that, because, you've got a bazillion fans, and, everyone else knows you're good enough. Everyone else knows you're great, but it's just too bad that you don't know it yourself sometimes. So I can absolutely relate. So what advice would you have for anyone, be they male or female, say men who are struggling with their mental health right now? What would your advice be?
Please share. Go talk to
Share.
somebody. Please share. I told my wife, it wasn't a very emotional situation because I knew I needed help. So a few months ago, I told my wife, like, I am battling again, and I'm gonna try and get some help, and I'm in that process right now. But you can't do it alone. It's too hard. I mean, it just beats you up, and you need to express yourself. By the way, Bill, it's not as hard as you'd think to tell somebody, because it feels good to tell somebody. Then you feel like you're being supported. But also,
Yeah.
I always say, watch out for others also. So if you notice somebody, they're in a situation which they seem different, and reach out, ask them some questions. And I have an example from early in the pandemic, Bill. So it was the first weekend, I believe it would have been around March 12th or 14th. It was right in around that time when it was the first major weekend when we were starting to hear all the bad things about the pandemic. And I remember my wife, she was glued to the TV the entire weekend, in particular on the Sunday afternoon, and she was acting quite different. She's flipping channels, and man alive, I had not seen her behave like that, because she's pretty normally chill. And all of a sudden, the next day, she wakes up about 5:15 in the morning, and she had such great pain in her chest. She thought she was having a heart attack. So we ended up that day going to the hospital. Luckily for her, everything checked out fine, but she stressed herself out so much that she ended up getting shingles just from the stress.
No.
And I wish I would have said something the afternoon before. I wish I would have said, honey, are you okay? Because her behaviors were different, and we could have had a nice chat and maybe turn the TV off. And so I think all of us are under great stress, and it really affects us. And you've got to chat with people. Like the last weekend of the NHL playoffs, I was in Toronto, and I did the same thing to myself, Bill. So we had back-to-back games on a Friday and a Saturday. And normally I like to go for a walk on a day like that and clear my head. And I didn't. And I started watching the news all Friday afternoon, all Saturday afternoon. And Saturday night, I got to the studio after 2 days of watching the pandemic and the rising numbers in Ontario and across the country. I put myself in a bad place. I even told a couple of my bosses that I don't know if I can do this anymore, because I just needed to get home. My brain was working overtime, filling my thoughts or my head with terrible thoughts, and it can happen to anybody. Like, I'm sure there are many people out there, men and women, children, teenagers, that have had their moments during this pandemic, and it's okay to chat about it. It clearly, it's perfectly fine to chat about. You're normal. I mean, you saw, I'm sure many people saw Stephen Colbert last night break down with the song from Dolly Parton. It happens, right?
Wow. Thank you for that advice, because especially since COVID, it's the incidence of depression is just skyrocketing, and I think it's just going to get worse as we go through the second wave or the third wave. So it is a struggle to stay positive and think that the future's not all as bleak as it's not going to be. We'll get through this together. And thank you for I just can't thank you enough for sharing your story and for doing all you do. It means a lot. It means a lot to so many. So bless your soul, my friend. And thank you for taking time to be with us. Okay.
You're the best, Bill. Thanks. Keep up the great work. This is a beautiful program that you guys are doing. I love it. Thank you.
Well, I'm trying. My pleasure. Take care. All the best.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you for streaming the local dive, which is supporting Calgary Prostate Cancer Center. Today's event kicks off the annual Keep It in Calgary campaign, where every donation supports men's health initiatives right here in the city. So you can visit keepitincalgary.ca. So that's keepitincalgary.ca to join the fight against prostate cancer. Big thank you to Legend 7 Brewing for brewing up a special batch to acknowledge the 1 in 7 men who will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. During November the they're going to be making a 7%, 77 IBU pale ale with proceeds supporting the Calgary Prostate Cancer Center. So thank you, big thank you, huge thank you to Legend 7 Brewing. Speaking of local, we're now joined by Calgary's very own excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret, of course, we know you from your wrestling days in the WWE and Stampede Wrestling, but one of your biggest fights happened back in 2015 when you were diagnosed with prostate cancer. So what was it like to hear the words, "You have cancer"? Can Bret hear us? I don't think Bret can hear us right now. So, but Bret Hart is joining us. We're going to get his audio fixed right away. And Bret is joining us, of course. Back in 2015, Bret found out that he was battling cancer, and it was devastating, I'm sure. And he's going to be talking about that in a couple of seconds here. Do we have audio yet? Okay, while we're getting.
Hey Calgary, this is Bret the Hitman Hart. I was born and raised right here in this city, and after I got diagnosed, I was treated at Calgary's Prostate Cancer Center. Calgary's my hometown, and I will fight for it. If this is your city, time to get behind it this November. Keep it in Calgary. Funds raised go directly to Calgary's Prostate Cancer Center. Support them so they can support you.
keepitin.calgary.ca, the website to check out today. Bret, do we have you for audio right now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you loud and clear, my friend.
Okay.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So we were talking about back in 2015 when you found out that you were going to be getting ready for one of the biggest fights of your career, of your life, actually, and that was when you were diagnosed with prostate cancer. What was it like to hear the words, "You have cancer"?
Yeah, they were sobering to say the least, but they were really frightening, scary. It really put fear right through my whole body, like everywhere. I immediately feared the worst. I think it's got to be one of the worst things you can hear someone say to you. And it's kind of like, am I really here? Am I really hearing this? It fear struck my whole body. Like I didn't know what to do. At the same time, I was very calm and very, I can say that I was prepared for it. I don't know how to explain it, but I just because I got checked and sort of had known for numerous years that my PSA level was slowly climbing and getting higher and higher, and I always got checked every year, which a lot of people don't, but it's so important to get checked. I had been sort of forewarned that that maybe in another year or two I might be over the line and I'd have to consider surgery and that kind of stuff. So I was part of me was kind of prepared for it. But again, when you hear those words, you've got cancer. I just my whole heart sunk in my chest, and I felt sort of a fear go through my whole body. And I don't know that it's any different for anyone else. I'm sure when anyone else hears those words, it's very sobering and very, you have a fear that goes through you that is indescribable.
One of the big things we're talking about today, Bret, is overcoming adversity and hardship. And we all know you've never stepped back down from a fight. So what is the time? Can you tell us about a time where you overcame all of the odds?
Well, that would be one. My stroke was another. When I suffered a stroke in 2002, in a lot of ways that was even more frightening and debilitating. But I don't know if I understood that so much at the time. When I suffered my stroke, that was also an equally devastating moment in my life where there was a time after about 2 or 3 weeks that I thought, I'm going to forever spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair, and I'm going to be this way forever. And you find yourself praying a lot, and you find yourself searching for any kind of solution to sort of how do you spring back? How do you get back? How do you get this back? How do you and you know, I have to say that I put all my faith, same with the prostate issues. You know, I put all my faith in the experts and the doctors and the people that the nurses and all the people that were the physio people, and you put your faith in people that know better, and they're going to guide you through this. And in both cases, I can say I was very happy with you know, all the people that sort of worked to put Humpty Dumpty back together again when I had my stroke, and at the same time when I went through my issues with prostate cancer. You know, I thought that you know, the doctors and everyone at the Calgary Prostate Center did such a great job of helping me through that. I mean, I'm forever indebted to some of the help that I got from professionals.
So you've talked about some of the struggles that you went over the last few years. What advice would you have for people who are struggling in their lives to get by right now?
Well, you know, you have to stay positive, and you have to you know, sometimes you have to just keep pushing. You know, you have to want it. You know, I can't express how important it is to put your faith and the trust into the doctors that know how to help you. And you know, like when I had my stroke, you know, I remember going, I'm not going to get better unless I listen to these physio people that are going to help me with my speech. I mean, I had a full on stroke. I mean, some people think when they see me today that I had a minor stroke or a mini stroke, or you know, I didn't have a mini stroke. I had a full on stroke. Like I lost everything in my whole body, right down the middle of from the one half of my body was basically paralyzed, and it was a terrifying thing. And you know, the little progress that I made, I mean, it was sometimes like about a hair a day kind of thing. Like it was such a small amount of progress that it was discouraging. But you know, if you add up all those little tiny amounts of progress over a period of 2 or 3 weeks, it's like, well, I gained like an inch of progress, and it's like I can remember being discouraged by that. But after a few months, the 1 inch became 3 inches, became 5 inches, became here I am walking out of the room now, and I'm out of my wheelchair, and I'm you know, I'm working on this, and I'm trying hard. There's a lot of little victories that added up to a big victory. And sometimes you just got to put your faith in the experts, and shut up and listen, you know, and follow what they tell you to do, and do it to the best of your ability. And God willing, you'll have a good recovery.
You mentioned a lot of little victories, and a big part of that, I think, is probably having a great support team. So who are the people that you leaned on when you needed that help and support?
Well, I can say for me, Dr. Hyman, who was my certainly was the surgeon for my prostate cancer. He had such a great approach and was so straightforward, direct with me. He just made me understand what I was dealing with and what I needed to do, and what they were going to do, and how things would go. And he was very, all I can say is his bedside manner was just what I needed. I need someone that was going to be frank and honest, and at the same time positive. And I always felt that he was just the perfect guy, had just the right um, sort of mindset to keep me positive and optimistic, and at the same time, you know, less fearful. And he helped me stay strong. And you know, I couldn't ask for a better doctor. And even when I was in the hospital and I went through the surgery, you know, the nurses and the people in that hospital that did so much for me, they were so good. Like I just was very proud of the system. That's like I thought that they did an awesome job. And even and going back to my stroke, you know, that I had in 2002, I thought the stroke ward at the Foothills Hospital was incredible. It's such a unappreciated how much of a great job they do there. And I learned that through my experience there, that they're one of the finest stroke wards in the country. And I mean, I've always been indebted to them. You know, the little pep talks and the things that they said to me and how they encouraged me. I've never forgotten it. It's you in those kind of situations. Again, you got to put your faith in people that know what they're talking about, that have dealt with this day in and day out with all kinds of people already before you walk in the door. They know how you're feeling. They know what your fears are, and they're going to help you through that. And I was really lucky. I had great care, and it's a testimony to the Canadian healthcare system. What a great luxury we have in this country. And sometimes you look south of the border and how they ridicule Canada for the socialist the healthcare system we have up here. I don't understand that. I mean, it's one of the greatest things in the world and Canadians are so lucky to have it, and I'm really proud of that.
So, all right. So, Bret, it looks like you mentioned having that support and people who look out for you and cheer you up. We've actually got a close personal friend of yours that's joining us today, Terry Cahill, who's been a part of many labor forces around the country, from swamping to almost foreman. He's currently working towards his welding ticket. And recently, Terry, is this true? You recently leased a truck that has tons of power and torque?
Yeah, that's right. Like, I got lucky enough to get a good deal on a truck, so I'm riding high. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's my first sort of lease, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Awesome.
And,
so I hear you have some questions for Bret.
I totally do.
I can't hear anybody.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can only hear you.
Oh,
I can't hear Terry.
Can anyone hear me? Like, thumbs up, buddy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Bret doesn't hear you, though, it sounds like.
Oh, well, maybe you can relay a message for him. Like, I've been trying to reach him on that cell phone he gave me, and I don't know if he didn't get the messages or not, but I've been calling him a lot.
Bret, Terry says that your phone calls haven't been going through.
My phone calls haven't been going through.
His phone calls to you haven't been going through.
He gave me a special number, and I've been calling.
I think that must just be a malfunction at the junction somewhere.
Oh, so can we get it so I can talk to Bret? Like,
I always welcome hearing from Terry. I know he's a very proud Canadian.
Yeah,
we have a lot in common, me and Terry.
So are you saying I have to say everything through, I'm sorry, I didn't even get your name. I know you're the host, but this is going to be really strange.
Terry, it's Fuzzy.
Fuzzy. Oh, now I hear you, but now I seen you. So sorry, Fuzzy. I apologize.
That's all right, bud.
But you got to explain to Bret, like, this is a weird, like, triangle, because he can't hear me, and well, how am I supposed to talk to Bret? Is this on purpose?
Well, you know what? Much the same way that your messages haven't been going through to Bret, I believe potentially this conversation may be blocked as well. So I can act as that in-between, the go-between right now. So anything you want to ask Bret, I got you.
I'm going to go to a different microphone. Tell me, maybe Bret can hear me now, like... Is that a bit better? Like, I don't know.
Can you hear Terry now?
Hey, Bret, it's Terry.
Oh, I can hear you, but no Terry.
Still no Terry. Okay.
Well, I've been trying to talk to Bret for a while. Like, I was going to say, like, I'm really grateful that you've had some Terrys on this thing, because there's quite a few Brets. So I'm glad.
There have been a few Brets, yeah. So yeah. We're glad that we can get Terry on here.
Yeah, and, I'm not going to lie. Like, they said, can you maybe help out a little? Come on this thing. And I'm like, for sure. Like, I've had a little bit of cancer in my life, like through my buddy Dean there. He had cancer and we kind of got her dealt with. So, I'm trying to listen a bit more to this stuff, but I'm a little embarrassed to say, I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't actually even really know what my prostate does or like anything about it, because I just don't know. And I'm kind of embarrassed, but I've been listening to people to say, just talk and say it. So I don't really know what it does.
Well, and this is why it's important to go and get your checkup and see your doctor on a regular basis. And Bret, you can talk to you've talked about the importance of getting that early detection and getting checked out.
Yeah, I'm a guy that's a firm believer, and I can't stress how important it is to get checked, especially when you get to be over 40. You need to get checked every year, and it's really not a very complicated thing. It's a very simple thing. It's a blood test, and that can even be, there's other ways to do it, but it's so important to get checked, and it'll give you peace of mind. Any men out there that are you know, even wondering about it, go in and get checked. It's could save your life for one thing. And you know, I always have to remind people, my oldest brother Smith was a guy that, you know, never got checked, never really worried about it, never had any symptoms. And one day, right around the time I got diagnosed, he got diagnosed at the same time, but his whole body was the cancer had spread, and it was you know, ultimately a death sentence for him. And I remember in the hospital when I visited my brother Smith in his last 3 or 4 months of his life, I remember he would constantly look at me and say, "I wish I'd got checked." And it's so important. I can't say it in a more serious way how important that is. You live in a country with healthcare, and there's nobody in this country that can't get a checkup, and it's just critical, and it's not something to be overlooked. Don't be one of those guys that, like my brother Smith, where it's too late, and it's just a really important thing, especially for men. There's a strong percentage. It's one of the highest you know, percentages for cancer for men in this country, and even around the world. And it's not anything to mess around with, and it's really simple. And the alternative, like and the things they can do surgery wise, and you know, is actually a very like how I am today in my life. I'm quite happy with my life, and I live in pretty much a normal life and do everything that I ever did before. And you know, it's not as scary as it maybe it was a few years ago. And I just think it's so important to stress to so many men. I've met so many friends and different people over the years that never get checked, and are almost proud of the fact that I've never, I don't have to get checked. And those same people now get checked, and I try to drive that message home to anybody that I talk to about that.
Yeah, well, you're talking right to me. He said, like, basically I'm the guy he's talking to, like the sort of the dummy who's like, you know, don't affect me, like kind of afraid. But, you know, those words that Bret just said, you know, they kind of went right to my ticker there. Like, I'm gonna go get her checked out right away. Like, I've been kind of dumb about it, but, you know, like, should I go do it? Like, you know, where obviously I just go see my doctor. I ain't seen a doctor in a few years. Like, I'm one of them guys, so. You know, I guess I just got to do it, find a doctor. Hopefully I don't have to go to BC, because apparently the doctors are, like, you know, leaving. So anyway, I'm going to try to find one.
Yeah, we've got amazing doctors, amazing healthcare here in this province. Big thank you to the Calgary Prostate Cancer Center, doing so many great things in this city. And I'd like to take time to thank you both for joining us today. Bret, Terry, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us here for Keep It in Calgary.
Right on. Thanks a lot. Yeah, tell Bret to call me. I'm going to leave some more messages.
Yeah, I didn't get to hear you.
Yeah, I'll call you. I'll call you. Okay. Woo! See you, Bret.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bill, we're throwing it back over to you right now.
Okay, well, I'm afraid to ask Terry. It looked like he was really in a smoke-filled environment, or was I just imagining that? It was really, we'll just leave that where it belongs. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning into the local dive, and we're continuing our discussion on overcoming adversity and hardship as we work to support the Calgary Prostate Cancer Center's Keep It in Calgary campaign. It's not too late to support, so please go online, keepitincalgary.ca, and donate. Also, thank you to our partners today, Agate Laboratories, Nutrien, and Post Media, for your support. And we're going to take a quick 30-second break for a message from our partner, Nutrien. That was cool. Here we are back. Calgary's Prostate Cancer Center's Keep It in Calgary campaign is all about living local and giving local. No one embodies that more than our next guest, Megan. Now, how do I pronounce your last name, my dear?
You ask me this every time, Bill. It's Zanuck. Just forget about the S and it works.
Well, I was going to say, like Daryl Zanuck. But I
Yeah,
thought,
exactly.
heaven forbid I get it wrong, because I've never lived down the fact that I took your picture one time and it was so out of focus, and I just was, and you never let me forget it either, but we had a good no. I've only been doing it for 30 years, but I'm glad you forgave me. So Megan is the visionary and creator of the SB Experience. It's a stylist-driven clothing and shoe store for men and women in Inglewood. And Megan's career spans more than 20 years. You must have started as a baby. Across all realms of the fashion industry, standing at the helm of a multi-million-dollar independently owned business. Wow. Megan and the stylish SB team have to date raised more than $330,000 for charitable causes close to their hearts, including our very own Calgary Prostate Cancer Center. So welcome, Megan.
Thank you so much. To follow Bret Hart and such an inspiring person is kind of a little tough, because we're talking about overcoming adversity and hardship, and we've all had so much in different ways. Mine, luckily, has not been health. You guys know me for the prostate cancer because of our Naked SB events that we've put on for years, and we've always been so happy and proud to be able to do that. And it's very difficult this year to not get the chance to put all those guys outside in underwear, because it is my favorite day of the year. Bill, I just don't know how to tell you, and it is the most fun that we have. So we cannot wait to get back to it. And, we're at a point now where we're being asked to kind of pivot. And this word pivot really bothers me, because I don't want to pivot who I am as a business. I don't want to pivot what I do. My pillars of service and experience, expertise and community has been really, really big. So I don't want to pivot away from that. But what I've had to do is kind of overcome to this adversity of my business dropping in half within those 2 months, being closed for 2 months, of course. And then people keep coming in going, well, how you doing, Meg? And really, it's only at 50% for retail. And we're really relying on, the governmental subsidies and things like that are coming in. And there's two ways to look at that. We can look at it as, oh, cry, cry, cry. I have to use some money from the government. But the way that I'm looking at it as, what an opportunity to finally get that e-com done. To be having someone else pay for it. But it's been really interesting for me, because I'm kind of looking at what qualities that I have that makes it so that I can be resilient, so that I can get up, so that I can keep fighting for this local business that I love, for this community that I love, so that I can keep giving back and doing the things that are really within my wheelhouse and where I can contribute. And I look at a couple of qualities that I have, and the biggest one is hope. I hope it's going to be better. I really have this deep sense that we can get through this. And I believe that we can get through this. And I think that that's something that really, really stands out. We need to have that deep-seated belief that things will get better. But the big thing for me is action. I'm an action person. When my dad got diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2009, I immediately started Naked SB by and Brett Wilson just showed up in his underwear, and the first 30 guys showed up at the store, in my little store that I had down the street when I started. And we raised, $7,000 that first year. And it was just like, wow, this is actually a thing. We can actually do that. And getting in action right now is really, really important. And it's hard. We had Kelly Rudy talking about his wife sitting there like glued to the TV and so anxious with what she was seeing and unable to take action. And I think that that's one of the things that we as entrepreneurs and we as Calgarians really need to do. We need to take action for ourselves and keep moving. And yes, things are changing every 5 minutes, and we don't know what program and what's happening, but we need to start moving towards something. And when you do that, the answers do appear. And that is what's been really interesting about my journey so far. I was very resistant to the internet and to online, because Bill, how can I tell you how great your ass looks if I cannot see it? How can I tell you that is not
right now.
How can I tell you that is not an appropriate style for you when I'm not in front of you and I'm asking you to pick from this photo, this photo, this photo? That's just not really who I am. And what happened was experimenting with some of this virtual stuff, some of these Zoom calls, realizing I could not walk around SB with a computer and kind of pointed at things. I ran into something called video selling. And this is really cool because I'm able to take a video, put it on YouTube, and then as I hold up the garment, you're able to collect to my e-com site and put it in your basket right away. But what the nice thing is, I'm able to tell you, Bill, this is how it feels. You need to buy this one size bigger because it's a little small fit, or all of those kind of things. I can now talk directly to my client. And so we tested it. And our first one wasn't amazing, but I had hope and I had belief that this was going to happen. And we had some good results that first day. And I went, wow. And now we're making more and more shopping videos, and we're trying to connect with our clients in a different way because I refuse to pivot from who I am. I'll pivot my method. I'll pivot my process. Okay. But I will not pivot who we are as a business and what we want to accomplish. And we want to make you feel amazing in your clothes. And I want to make you feel something. And when we started doing these videos, even these little Instagram videos, I always thought that I wasn't the expert. I'm just a local girl that puts on local charities and does local stuff. And my clients want to hear from me. And they want to hear from my stylist, and they want to know how to wear short pants and what they should be doing and what they should be wearing for Zoom calls. And people are coming in and saying, oh my God, I saw your video and I'm so glad. And I really want you to tell me about this or this sweater. So we've been able to kind of pivot in how we're delivering our service and how we're getting our message out there.
Yeah. Now, how do you, when you're doing this, when you're doing the online, is it a one-on-one consultation with one of your clients and saying, well, here's this from the side, or do you do it as a
We've done both. We find the virtual is a bit difficult because it's hard to get the professional camera, which is really an iPhone and some earbuds. Let's be realistic. We've all been, you guys have been doing the news now for months, virtual, and that's really what it is. But what we chose to do was instead pre-make a video. So I'm making a video for you, Bill, my customer. I send you the YouTube link, and then you're able to watch me talking to you, explaining this will go back with the pants that you already have. These are some new jeans that I want you to try, and getting that selling experience. And that experience of the stylist being the one that knows what you should be wearing. You know, we are the experts in fashion and what's going to work for you and your body. So we've been able to do that. So we started off with some general to certain customer groups, like Iris Lekway, one of our Canadian designers. I've been able to use their inventory instead of my inventory, which has been amazing because that's one of the real stop gaps for online for a boutique. I only have 6 of something. So by the time that it actually gets online, I only have 2 left. So I've been able to really get innovative using other people's inventory, selling products, and getting videos and delivering them directly to my clients, saying, here you go, Bill, here you go, Sally, here's what you need, and then having people react to it in a different way and getting that service. Because what we discovered, Bill, is they want to talk to us, they want to see us, but they just might not be able to where they are in COVID right now to get down to the store.
Smart. And you found it hugely successful?
Well, my first day, my Iris video was $3,000 of extra sales that I didn't have. So for me, that was a success. And now this next one's going to go out this week. And if we can throw on another 3,000 and another 3,000, I've got to get back over $1 million in sales. Okay. And that I've lost. And we've got to find a new way to do that. And the other interesting thing is I'm the girl that says leggings are not pants. Okay. I don't sell sweatpants because I'm like, no, Bill, that's for your house. That is not for out.
Yeah.
And now we've had to kind of diversify and be okay with selling those things because I have the perfect bathrobe. So you know what I'm doing? I'm making it for you guys. I'm using new suppliers that I've met in Brazil and other places and here in Canada to make those perfect items that I can sell online, easy for e-com, that I know is really going to work for my client because I know I've got great taste and that's what they're asking for right now. So I'm able to do this in a little bit of a different way and kind of expand my product offering to things that I wouldn't normally do. But I'm still within that realm of, hey, here's the very best that I can give you. Made in Canada, feels amazing because they want to know, but they want to know what I'm wearing at home too. I just wasn't selling it before. So now we're really starting to.
Oh, that's very, very cool. Good for you. That's really, and I like that you say the word pivot, but that's kind of what we have to do. The only other word that I really think is overused is unprecedented. If I hear that word one more time, I'm going to scream. Anyhow, why has your business chosen to give back to the community and charitable causes?
For me, you've got to keep your money local. When my dad, went to the Prostate Cancer Center and he got all sorted out, thank God. And it's local. When my brother goes to Special Olympics, that money is local. And I think what ends up happening is we don't realize it. We see these massive campaigns in Movember, and I hate to hate on Movember. But the reality is it's a cool campaign, but that money does not come to Calgary. And our men raise so much money for leaving the country. Leaving our province and leaving our city. And I think that it's really important because the people that take care of our men are the Calgary Prostate Cancer Center. So I've always kept all of my giving local. We've recently, I know there's going to be some promo you guys are going to put out. So we did, Women's Emergency Shelter has been one that I started with last year doing some like live auctioning in their gala. Well, of course the gala didn't happen this year. So I pivoted my method. We went online and we raised $7,500 for them in about 3 days by auctioning off an online item, which was a shopping party, COVID friendly, for 10 people where everybody gets a gift card to spend in the store. And also they get wine and cheese. And that was really awesome. So we actually have one of those up for the Prostate Cancer Center right now. I know the link will be on your site. So we would love to start getting some being able to auction all of that forward. I will repost it on Instagram as well too. So it's right at the top of the feed, because things do get buried, as you know, with how we are in social media. But we really need to keep our money local. So whether it's the Women's Shelter or the Prostate Cancer Center or the Special Olympics, which I support for my brother, I want to make sure that money goes where the people that are in my community that are supporting my store get to use it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, what advice then would you give to other businesses, specifically maybe retail, who haven't yet realized the potential of becoming involved in their community or the importance of same? What advice would you give to them?
Every retailer needs to remember who is shopping in their store, and that is your locals. For example, we get lots of requests from people walking by, like, I have a silent auction, I have this. The first thing that I do is I check, is that person a customer of mine? And if they are, it's almost an automatic give, because those things pay back in spades. And what we have to realize is that we want to keep doing these good deeds. I would encourage all other retailers to get involved in their community however they can. They think that it's just something little and they can't give. And yes, I'll do an event and I'll raise $75,000, but I also put 100 guys in the street and made a big fool. You know, I did all of those things. And some people just can't see, I can't do what Megan does. It's too big, because it is massive undertaking. But a small event, a live auction item for a great charity that you want, supporting a customer and something that they're doing, you know, always making sure that I subscribe to what other people are doing. It's so important. And I would encourage all retailers to do it. Right now, you know, people are shopping local and they're making a very concerted effort to do that. They know they go to Walmart, maybe $30 stays in our community. They come to SB, they go down the street, $68 to $70 stays in our community. And this is, you know, these are facts that we're hearing in all the studies that have been done. So more money stays in our community. Let's keep the money in the community. Has never been a greater time. And you don't have to put on a massive event like I do and go all crazy. You can do something small and you can be very impactful. And when you give, you receive. There is this energy flow that we forget about with charity and with what we're doing. And it's very, very important that we continue to remember that flow. If we just sit and we hold on to everything, nothing will ever come. And some of the very best moments that I've had in my business have been when I'm giving. That's when I feel the biggest and the strongest.
Well, it makes you feel really, really good to help those who maybe are not as lucky as you and I.
Yeah,
it feels good, doesn't it? It just feels good, I think.
Yeah, it really, really does. And we need more good feeling. How do you get through the pandemic? What's the answer? You gotta focus on the positive. And you know, it's a little bit Disney, but it's reality. Every small thing that we focus on the positive will bring us more of that, and we're going to attract more of that coming in. So I would just encourage everybody to do that. And when you give a little bit, you're going to get back. It's just the way that the universe works, with energy and with money and with everything.
Isn't that the truth? Well, now listen to that. I want to share this with I want to make sure I get it right, my dear. It is, so Megan has, we're thrilled to announce that Megan has graciously started an auction, and it is called an auction of whiskey and wine clothing experience.
Yes.
And I encourage you all to go to her website to bid on this incredible experience to raise funds for the Prostate Cancer Center. Yes. The link is below to bid. And if you want to discover SB Experience's newest shopping video, be sure to join their email list and follow SB on social media. Like it, love it, just like Megan. And if you haven't, go and check out the boutique in Inglewood for affordable, fabulous designer shoes and clothing.
Absolutely. We're 7,000 square feet. You can socially distance really, really easily. I've got my mom sewing masks. She's got the coolest stuff. So come check it out.
Thank you so much for taking the time today, and continued success. And you're an inspiration to us also. Take care. And I look forward to seeing you out and about at some point.
Sounds good. At our next event, whenever we can have it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Megan, thanks again.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Bye for now. So our next guest is a creative, best-dressed warrior who champions the teachings of the world. Are you intrigued? His passion in food, fashion, and education has brought him great success in inspiring his clients to achieve their highest potential. We are delighted and honored to have Domingo Neumannong here today at the local dive. Welcome. There you are.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm really well. How are you?
It's always a pleasure to see you.
That's always a pleasure to see you. It's always fun to see you out and about at events. Don't we have a hoot?
Yes, all the time.
Never any dead air. So you know what, my friend, I got to tell you, after reading your biography, I shed a few tears. I got to admit, it was very heartfelt. Really touched. It really touched my soul. So I'm so excited to have you here with us today. And I think your story of overcoming adversity will definitely resonate with everyone who is tuning in today. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and some of the hardships you've overcome to get you where you are today?
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to share what I have to share with you, with everyone who's tuning in. Adversity is really something that I think all of us kind of experience, but I wanted to see if I can share. Bill, I have a presentation just to kind of keep me on track because I like to talk. So I'm not sure if I can, if you guys can see that. Can you see?
No.
Oh, there we go. Can you see this?
Yep. Yeah. Living as a AAA student.
So I wanted to share with everyone my approach and how my life story, and just perfect timing to just really kind of get started with living as a AAA student and what that really means for me. So acceptance and acknowledgement of adversities are a AAA approach in continuing to live my life to the fullest. So you know what, Bill? Growing up, I've always in the Philippines. I was always different. I was too dark to be Asian, too light to be African American, too feminine to be a boy, and obviously have boy parts to be a girl. So when I was in high school, I was dubbed fashionably different, for I was wearing frocks when I can, and thanks to the nuns, the priests, the missionaries for the uniforms required to have my attendance accounted for in my school years. Coming from a not so traditional family, I took a big inspiration from my mother, who I thought was different because she is the only African American in her class growing up like me. Wow. When I'm not studying at the library, I helped coordinate the sponsorship, aka beauty pageants in the school, and spearheaded forest cleaning drives. And yes, with my clutch, my tribe, and of course, a big smile. At that time, everything was swell. In 2005, that all changed when I and my family immigrated to Canada. Everything was new, everything was exciting. I was 21 when I moved, yet I left 21 years of foundation, friends, anchors I thought I'd grow old with. So here I am, a stranger in a strange land as an immigrant. I had to make a choice. Do I sit by my window as I watch the snow falling from outside, like what we're experiencing today, and wish I was somewhere warmer, like back home in the Philippines, or create a snowman out of a snow outside my new home? I chose the latter and adapted. My first job in Canada, Bill, was a housekeeper at an inn with an 1.5-hour commute from my new home to get to work. This was November 11, 2005, 4 days after I landed from the tropics, days after I chose to build a snowman outside my new home.
Cool.
With my hand-me-down basic winter accessories, I waited for bus 29, local, right? To pick me up, to take me to the train station so I could be transported to work. All day, I've asked myself, should I accept this, or do I follow one of my siblings who chose to go back to the tropics and never look back? As stubborn as I am, I chose to keep going. A year later, I found another job that felt a little bit more my style, but a few years later, that company ceased operations in Canada and dismissed all staff, including myself. I am back to square one and felt I needed to reinvent myself. So I digged into fashion, moved into a different city, and I thought I was back on track. The job failed me once more, and I left making another decision to go back to Calgary and declare bankruptcy. The year was 2015. I felt horrible. I felt like giving up. I did not see any value in living. There were even times when friends would drive to me so I can get out of bed with their help to see the sunshine. And finally, I chose once again and accept, after years of denying myself the truth, that I could be potentially bipolar like my mother. Sessions upon sessions of therapy and studying, struggling with the weight on my shoulders, it felt like sadness was never going away. Thankfully, the diagnosis came in and I was clinically depressed. The promise that a daily pill intake to rid of demons in my head, finally making attempts of ending my life anew. Stubborn, different, and a go-getter, I wanted to change. I was given a lifeline through science and wondered if there was a way to cure myself without it. A backpack and over 200 pounds of body weight at 5 feet and 2 inches, I took a plane and arrived in India and started my dedication of a practice and found yoga. I was still 200 pounds, mind you, when I came back and completed my yoga teacher training, but seriously felt lighter than ever. I realized the practice of being present and mindfulness can do a lot to the body and mind. I could have stopped at any time. I felt any adversities were over. I was free and happy. But alas, I still needed the pill. I still feel sad at times, and the voices of feeling not good enough, not worth enough still lingers. So I pushed myself, distracted. Tried drag performing, where I sing to tunes that made me happy to a crowd. But then again, I was too different, as the drag performances normally limit performances to lip syncing and not live singing. So I went on back to what I knew, personal shopping. Few months of being focused, I was the first person they awarded to fly to the store's flagship in New York City with top clients to host and to everyone's envy. And also got me my best dressed spread for Avenue magazine.
Oof.
But still, something was missing. Today, I manage a learning center, and as my boss would call it, a very responsible job. Not saying that my previous ones weren't. I finally realized wherever you are, adversities will follow. So it is up to me to tackle it head on and move along. I share with you today the very core that once made me question my purpose and my worth. Too dark to be Asian, too light to be African American, too feminine to be a boy, and yes, have boy parts to be a girl. But that's okay. I accept it because I am different.
Oh, wow.
Born with the adversities. Oh, thank you. So born with the adversities where I didn't fit in any boxes, Bill. I could have easily made myself empowered by victimhood, but I chose to rise above it all. I celebrated. In fact, when I was 200 pounds, remember that picture? I hired a photographer to take photos of me in my birthday suit, just to celebrate it. I entered into territories where I pushed my boundaries and admitted when it's time to halt and move on. When we are first introduced to adversity, either laid on us or upon us, we have a choice. Do we accept where we are, acknowledge what we do, or do we deny ourselves with the time that we all know is borrowed? So my acceptance and acknowledgement of adversities catapults my respect for life and my approach to living life to the fullest as a AAA student. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope I can see myself again back to the right here. And hopefully everybody can kind of share a little bit of what I've experienced through and gone through.
Very powerful. Thank you enough. And unfortunately, very often those that are unique in the world are the ones that are most put upon. So, celebrate being unique and celebrate your oneness and your individualness, and you just keep rocking it because you're really cool and very inspiring. So thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We really appreciate it a lot.
Of course, Bill. And you know what? I appreciate people like you and people that have put this event together, because this is the reason why people like me exist and have the strength and the capacity to show up to the world, because I'm showing up to the world for me. But really, by the end of it, I'm showing for the world for us, because we have people like you that I'm very grateful for, that, sets the platform for people like me.
Thank you. Take care. Look forward to seeing you out and about at some point in the future. Thanks
Sounds
again.
Great. Thanks, Bill.
Take care. Over to you, Fuzzy.
Next guest is Queen's Playground. She's a rehabilitation specialist by day and a fashion and lifestyle blogger by night. Her name is Shenenye. I hope I get this right. Otakpor?
Otakpor.
Otakpor. She serves a purpose to help people not only look good, but also feel good mentally and physically. Welcome, Shenenye. We are so happy to have you with us today.
It's so nice to see you. This is the first time I've ever actually seen your face, Fuzzy.
Really? Well, it's
Yeah.
long overdue.
Yeah.
So, Shanana, your influence in fashion in the fashion world is something to be admired, and your passion
Thank
for
you.
mental health is made you a speaker that we were very eager to have on our live stream today. Here at Prostate Cancer Center, we, along with many others in the world, are doing our best to break the stigma around mental health and men's mental health, specifically in general, through our Women for Men's Health initiative and the Big Ball Gala. Can you tell our viewers today a little bit about you and what drew you to the fashion and blogging world?
Okay, so originally, many people have probably heard the story because I've said it time and time again. But originally, my blog was born from my job in mental health. I originally started doing it because it became a coping mechanism for me to be able to handle everything that came with my job. I started working with kids at some point, and it affected me a lot mentally. So eventually being able to pour out all of my anxiety and everything I was dealing with into my blog really helped me find a good balance with my mental health. So that's how my blog was born. My family decided that they wanted to buy me a DSLR camera. So they did, and I was kind of like forced into it at some point where I was like, okay, now I have to do it because you guys have spent all this money on me. So now I will actually start it. And I just try to find different ways to incorporate both. And over the years, I figured out that my main goal now, working in mental health and also having a passion for fashion, is to try and make sure I can make people feel good mentally and physically, because both of them go hand in hand with each other. So yeah, that's
It's so it's so important to have that creative outlet, right? I think that's something that a lot of time gets overlooked, and that for your own mental health and mental well-being is something that it helps you grow as a person, right?
It does. Finding a good balance and finding the right coping mechanisms is very important, because when you don't have a creative outlet or a way to just let all of that anxiety, let all of that sadness, depression, whatever it is you're dealing with, if you don't have a way to let it out, it continues to build, and it can affect your physical health, and most people don't realize that.
Shanani, can you tell us some time about in your life where you overcame adversity?
I would say definitely moving from Nigeria. As most people know now, I'm not sure if they do, but there's a lot going on in Nigeria right now, with the End SARS movement, and just seeing that is a reminder that I have definitely overcome a lot of adversity in my life. I moved from there when I was around 11. And just seeing what's going on in the country right now is very sad. There's a lot of unwarranted killings of our youth. Basically, what's going on is equal to the police brutality that was going on with the BLM movement a couple months ago. It's basically the same thing going on in Nigeria right now. So that is one thing that I would say in my life has been a great example of overcoming adversity, because without the opportunity to come here and with my family, I would definitely be in that situation right now.
At what point did you realize that fashion and mental health, the two could go hand in hand? And how do you think that that fashion plays a role in people's mental health?
Fashion plays a huge role in people's mental health, because sometimes a lot of people can use it as a pick-me-up. You know, I've definitely gone through some really tough breakups, and the highlight of getting out of it was being able to finally dress up and go out with my friends. Or, you know, dressing up was a good indication that, okay, I can get over this. I can now conquer what the world has to offer. The first thing that people notice about us is the way we present ourselves, and fashion plays a role in that. So they do go hand in hand in that sense, because it's a physical representation of ourselves. So it is when you are not okay mentally, it can show physically with the way you present yourself, with the way you dress, and just hygiene, whatever it is. So that is one way that I try to like help people understand that both are very, very important. Fashion can be used as a way to express yourself. And yeah, that's one of the
Yeah,
ways.
let's not forget retail therapy is a very, very real thing, and there's
It's
nothing
a
that makes
thing,
you feel
and
better
it's so
than going to
bad.
the mall and buying a new outfit, right? New fresh pair of
Mhm.
kicks, a new blouse, whatever it is. Spending that money on some clothing, put a big smile on your face.
It's definitely, I know a lot of women are definitely gonna get mad at me, but it's a terrible coping mechanism. It's a terrible coping mechanism for mental health, but I understand that. But yeah, it definitely makes you feel good when you get a new fresh pair of kicks or whatever it is you're into. It's a great feeling.
Yeah,
So
that was me. That's my thing. I'm all about getting a nice fresh pair of kicks. So maybe it's a handbag, whatever it is. But you're starting up a personal styling business that'll be launching soon. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So that is something that I am still currently working on, because that is an extension of me wanting to make people feel good physically. So one thing I want to do is work on personal styling. I want to take on anyone that wants to just kind of reinvent themselves, reinvent their wardrobe, whatever the situation is. I want to take it on. It'll be a new challenge for me because I've been working more on the mental side of things, making people feel good mentally. So that is my new challenge now. Being a fashion blogger is nice, and I can always give people tips from my fashion blog, but to be able to do it physically and just see people's reaction from that, and that's my new goal. So that is something I'm currently working on, and people can always message me for more details about it.
Awesome. Shananya, thank you so much for joining us today. It was so nice to talk with you. If people want to follow you, where can they find you?
Queen's Playground on Instagram. My website is www.queensplayground.com. Queen's Playground on all platforms, but the main platform people can contact me on is Instagram.
Thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bill, we're going to throw it back to you right now.
She's beautiful. Wow. So today's live stream, the local dive is actually kicking off Calgary Prostate Cancer Center's 4th annual Keep It in Calgary fundraising campaign, which is returning this November. So stay tuned for that. So the local dive would not be complete without chatting with our next guest, Jim Button. I've had the pleasure of knowing Jim for a long time. He's probably best known as the co-founder of Village Brewery, and he's well known for building community, using beer as a social connector. He's helped create a more tight-knit Calgary. Just one of the examples of one of his many fun things he's done is the nut raiser that we can maybe talk about later, a fundraising involving beer and Bulls balls that I've always had the pleasure of being a judge for. So Jim is joining us today to talk about his journey with cancer and the positive mindset it requires. Jim, welcome. Thank you for joining us today, my friend.
It is so lovely to see you, my friend. You're looking sharp. I like it. We both have that little tiny silver stubble going on.
Do you? I think somebody told me I look like Moses.
Yeah. Well, you act like him quite often.
That's exactly it. So Jim, you chose to find the positive, and I mean, you've inspired so many, and you were suitably honored as a magnificent man, which you certainly are. But you've chosen to remain positive, battling your terminal diagnosis. So, what advice would you recommend to someone who's in a similar situation? How are you doing it? How are you doing it?
Well, it's as many of the people that have been talking already. Positivity's a key ingredient to succeeding through this challenging time, but it's tough. Sometimes dealing with the chemo treatments and all the sideways foibles that you go through are quite arduous. And I don't believe there would be any way I would still be here today